Hey guys, the Explorer of Horror here, the Horror Boy. Welcome back to some more reviews, and of course, we're getting to one of the sequels to Final Destination, and that is the first sequel, and that is Final Destination 2. You can't cheat death twice. Love that tagline. Also, love that poster. Love that poster. Love this DVD. They definitely did a great job with the marketing and the releasing of this movie. This DVD does have a pretty decent amount of features, and it looks pretty good, sounds pretty good, and has a cool, I don't know if you guys can see that, but reflective. I like that. But Final Destination 2 is most people's favorite in the series, and for good reason. I mean, this is my second favorite, real close second favorite to the first movie. The first movie is my favorite, and I'll get into the reasons why I think this one is my second favorite, and the first one's still my favorite. I'll give my reasons for that in a second. But yeah, this is still a really well done sequel, and it's still a blast to watch. And this one is a lot more of a really crazy, it's kind of like Wrong Turn 2 Dead End, where the first movie is more of this, horror tone, this really serious, sinister horror tone. And then this one is just bonkers, balls to the wall, off the fucking wall. Like one of those insane sequels that just has lots of gore, lots of crazy moments, some great characters, and just a really batshit crazy sequel. I think is how you can really describe this movie. It's just crazy, it's intense, it's surprising, and it's actually pretty original compared to the fact that they do more stuff in this movie. It isn't just copying the first movie. They do end up doing some new things that I really like, and I'll get into that in a second. But the story is pretty basic. I mean, you have a brand new lead, A.J. Cook playing the Kimberly character, who's our new lead. And her and her friends are on this road trip, they're on this highway, and you have a premonition scene where this highway just completely goes to hell. I mean, you got a scene where a log truck has the logs fall off, and the log, you see a shot of the guy going like, oh my god. Then the log, it's not done in one shot, but the way they edited it was just perfect, because you see the surprised look. You even see, as the log's coming into the car, you see the guy still surprised. I don't know how they did that. That was so cool. I don't know how they did most of the stuff in the highway sequence. It's just a lot of gore. Like I said, the log goes through the car, through the back of the car, and you see brain matter and stuff on it. When cars flip, you can actually see, I'm guessing, mannequins and stuff in the car, but you can actually see, when one car flips, you see somebody in there. So, you have a lot of practical explosions, huge explosions, when cars will hit something and it just explode. Motorcycles are just hitting people and killing them. Just a lot of crazy stuff. And basically, she gets out of there, and her friends end up getting hit by another, I think a truck or something like that. So she's the only one who survived out of her friends and the rest of the people. And it kind of is the same thing where, death is knocking people off one by one. But in this movie, of course, Clear Rivers, Ali Larter comes back in this movie, which I thought, once again, she's very beautiful, she's a great actress, she's a great lead, and has a new look, blonde look, which is really nice. But yeah, I thought she was great in this movie. They made her character even more badass. It seemed like this was her kind of getting her revenge on death for killing all of her friends. And there's a lot of great moments between her and the Kimberly character where it's kind of passing the torch or helping this person who doesn't really know much about this whole death thing, and kind of taking her to Tony Todd's character to kind of learn more about Death's plan. And I like that. A lot of good moments there. And this movie has a lot of great stuff in it. It's got some great death scenes, some good gore effects. Like I said, it's balls to the wall, just gory insanity. And you have, ladders falling on people's heads. You have a scene where you think this kid's gonna this like teen character, you think he's gonna drown because he's getting his teeth checked. And I always thought it was a really well done scene, and they really play around with your emotions in that scene because it's really suspenseful. One moment you think he's gonna drown, the next moment you think he's gonna just suffocate and die, but he ends up not dying from that. And what he ends up dying from is he goes out and this glass pane like thing, this pan of like glass, this giant thing of glass just falls and just folds him into like a bloody mess. It's just done practically, looks great, wonderful effect, and that was crazy. You have probably my favorite death scene from this movie is Jonathan Cherry, who is from House of the Dead. I know he's wanted to be in a couple other films as well, but his character, this barbed wire explodes and it just flings across this area and it hits him and he falls to pieces. Just one of the most shocking death scenes in a horror film. Really gory, really surprising, and just out of fucking nowhere. It was crazy. So that was an awesome death scene, and like I said, just a lot of great gore throughout the film. And I love the new stuff in this movie. They didn't do the same thing as the first movie. I mean, technically that it is very similar. The fact that you have death and death's plan and it knocking them off one by one and them trying to figure out what pattern it's going in. You kind of have that, but at the same time, you also have a really cool idea that if it's not your turn to die, you can't kill yourself, you can't just go out and get shot, nothing can happen to you. You're pretty much invincible. Because there's a scene where a character ends up, I think it's the Eugene character, played by Terrence Carson. He tries to, the Eugene character tries to shoot himself, but the bullets are in there and it didn't work. So that's such a cool idea of you basically can't die. That you can do whatever you want, you cannot die. And I thought that was such a cool idea. They never really did anything else with it in the series, which is really a shame because it's so interesting and it's so inventive. And that's what I mean with a plot like this. You can do stuff with this kind of a plot. You can mess around with it and introduce new things. Like in this movie, instead of it being them trying to figure out how to stop the plan, what ends up being how they stop the plan is this girl is pregnant, and that baby was not part of the original premonition. So if this baby is born, it kind of derails Death's plan. So it's different in that way. It's different in a way also where our lead kind of sees flashes of the future. And I like that. It's so different. Like, that's what I mean. It's not total rip-off. This is the point. This is not the point in the series where you're seeing the same thing over and over again and they're doing the same things. Here, it's fresh, it's new, it's taking the original concept and even doing more with it, and I really appreciate that. This cast, I think, is still awesome. Like I said, you got Ali Larter, AJ Cook, Jonathan Cherry, Michael Landis, James Kirk. Just got a wonderful cast here. You got David Pascu, and just like I said, a great cast. Jonathan Cherry, AJ Cook, Michael Landis, Ali Larter. Still a great cast of characters, and yeah, it's written very clever. It's a different tone than the first movie. It's not really trying to be very scary. It's more of just trying to shock you and surprise you and be clever with the idea, be smart with it, and also just have this insane fun with it and trying to make it a very fast-paced, energetic sequel, and I really appreciate that. And like I said, the effects are well done. I think it's shot and directed very well by David R. Ellis, who I think did Shark Night 3D. I think he did the 4th Final Destination movie, and unfortunately he did pass away, so rest in peace to Mr. David R. Ellis. But he did a great job making this movie. A wonderful sequel. Easily one of the best horror film sequels out there. But yeah, I think it's got just a cool style to it. It's not the exact same energy from the first movie. It's something different, something new, something unique, and I really like that. You know, I like the premonition sequence. I like the death scenes, the gore. The characters are really well written. Our leads are still pretty good. The acting, the characters. I also want to mention this. There's a lot of great character moments in this film that I really recognized and really noticed with this film, is that it's making your cast, which is really important with these movies, making your cast not one-dimensional. Or not really your cast, but your characters. These characters are still smart, they're still clever, they're still likable, they're still all dynamic and different, and, you know, I can remember certain characters. But that's the thing about this movie that I really love, is that it's a sequel, but at this point, the cast is still doing great as far as acting goes, and as far as writing these characters go. Like I said, there's a lot of great character moments. You had that moment with Tony Todd, which is a great scene where he tells the lead from the past movie, Ali Larter, and tells A.J. Cook about Death's plan. I like the moment where A.J. Cook and Ali Larter first meet. The acting there, the scenes they have, very, very well done. And there's a scene that's really comedic, but also at the same time it's a great character moment where Jonathan Cherry says this dialogue to our lead, A.J. Cook. He's pretty much like, you know, if I'm next, if I die, you know, can you hide my nude mags and my drugs from my mom? And it's like it's a funny scene, but at the same time, you know, it's like you kind of feel it's a great little moment there. It's a great little moment. It made the character not one-dimensional. It made it a really memorable scene. And the rest of the cast is the same way. I mean, everything is memorable. There's nothing forgettable about these characters, and I really enjoy this cast. I enjoy the movie's ending. I like how this is one of those very few Final Destination movies where not everybody dies. Because a lot of these movies later on would be everybody dies, you know. But, yeah, it's got a really surprising ending as well, where you think that Death's plan has been vanquished, but in reality, this guy saved one of the characters, so he became part of the plan. And the movie ends with an explosion, an arm falling, the family there just screaming and yelling. The movie ends. It's a crazy ending. The movie is just very fast-paced. I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but it came out in 2003. It gets a 6.2 on IMDb. But yeah, it's well-directed, it's well-written, it's fast-paced, it's really fun, it's really bonkers and crazy, lots of gore, lots of practical effects, and even the CGI effects look good. So they even have good CGI in this movie, which is pretty awesome. But to me, there's a few issues that I have to tell in this video, and why I think it's like, you know, why I like the first movie just a little bit more. First of all, if you're going to kill a lot of the characters from the first movie, and this is a big pet peeve that I have with a lot of horror film sequels, is that you're going to bring back a character, kill them off at the beginning of the movie. I don't really like it that much because, like, dude, they survived everything in the first movie. You just bring them back to kill them off. Like, why can't you just leave their character alone and have a new set of characters? Well, with this movie, it's like they killed off the Devon Sawa character from the first movie, and the way they did it was just, to me, it was like, what? Basically, you read these newspapers and it says that a brick fell and hit him in the head and he died. And I'm like, it seemed like they beat Death's plan in the first movie. So I was like, really? Like, how? And I get it, the ending of that movie is whatever, but it's like, if this happened in the sequel, then how would, I don't know. I was all kinds of confused because the way the first movie ended and the way this movie kind of starts, it's like, why you kill off Devon Sawa's character in such a weak way too? It's a weak way to kill him off, and it's like, I even heard rumors like, you know, Devon Sawa didn't say no. That, you know, I don't know what really reason it was. It was just like, just in the movie, and I was just like, what? You know, it was crazy. I couldn't believe that they did that. I was like, and I was a really big fan of the character in the first movie, you know. And as far as the Claire character, Ali Larter, if you're going to kill off Devon Sawa's character, at least have her survive. But they don't even have her survive. She also dies in this movie. And I'm like, really? And the way she dies is like, wow, like, it's supposed to be surprising and shocking. But to be honest, the first time I seen this movie and I seen that, I was like, wow, like, why would they do that? So, those two things are, like, the only things that bother me about this movie, is, like, the way they treated the characters from the past movie. They just kill them off like they're nothing. And I'm like, just, why? You know, why? I just didn't understand it. I just was like, why can't we just leave? If you're going to bring the cast into the new movie, you don't have to kill them all off. And if that's the case, then just make a new story. Do new characters, a new story. You know, and they did with this movie. They just brung back the Claire character. But I was like, at least leave her alive, but she ends up being killed off in this movie. And those are really the only two things, is the Devon Sawa character and the Claire character being killed off in this movie. I didn't really like that. But this movie is an example of a sequel that is about as good as the first movie. Even like I said, I do prefer the first movie a little bit more, just a little bit more. This one is still on that level of the first movie. It's just action-packed, it's got gore, it's got mayhem, it's fast, it's fun, it's insane, it's a well-made sequel. Easily one of the best horror film sequels out there. And I'm so happy that I got to talk about it with you guys tonight. But anyways, guys, that's going to be it for this review. I'm giving Final Destination 2 probably a 7.5, just like the first movie, 7.5, or maybe a little bit lower. I don't know. I'm going to go 7.5. Why not? It's a great sequel. 7.5 from me. Really enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below your guys' thoughts on this film. Yeah, really enjoy it. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. And Explorer of Horror is out. I'll see you guys later. Have a good night. Peace out.